We play and call it work.
Hey there, and welcome to the Cult Mechanicus book review. So I'm quite excited about this. So I got Steve with me here today.
Hey guys.
And you all know me. I'm Leland. Yay. So yeah, as I said, I'm quite excited about this one because I feel like we're finally working with a whole army here.
Getting closer, in my opinion.
Closer, yes.
Closer.
Yes, and you'll find out why he says closer, and you'll find out why I do kind of agree with him in a lot of regards, because we've actually spent a lot of time in the past month discussing Skitarii, discussing Cult Mechanicus and AdMech, and what's kind of needed here.
Right.
So we have some ideas. So basically this is going to be a series of videos in line with our other book reviews. So we're going to be going over the units, we're going to go over the special rules, the formations, and sort of where it all fits with 40k in general, and where it's going to fit with the faction and the Imperials. And
that line right there is, I think, for me, the main point, where it all fits now.
Yeah.
And that's where, and it's not going to be a bad thing. I like it. It just, for me, it's not quite coming the way I want it to yet.
No, fair enough.
That's my initial
thoughts on it.
My initial feelings, but stay tuned and find out why. Because it's not. Yeah. I'm not giving this a negative review at all. It's actually pretty good.
No, a lot of our final thoughts are going to be summed up in the final set of videos. So you're definitely going to want to sort of stay tuned to that one right there. But we're going to try and go through this a little bit more clinically. So the first video we're going to be working on today, we're going to be looking at the armory that Cult Mechanicus brings. And this is because they have a whole lot of weapons that...
A lot of funny names and a bunch of new weapons.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of weapons that... And someone can correct me if I'm wrong on this one. I don't think a lot of these exist in 40k as it is right now, but they might exist in 30k.
Oh, see, I'm not up on the 30k. I don't know.
Yeah.
If that's the case, oh, that's awesome.
And that's kind of cool. We're starting to see some merge over if that's the case. Like, the first one that comes to mind is the Volkite weapons, but...
And that's a 30k weapon?
I'm pretty sure that's a 30k weapon, yeah.
Okay, I think that sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah, so let's start with the Wargear here. And, so you have the... You have it up here somewhere. Yeah, so you have the Wargear list.
Wargear,
right
okay, well, special issue Wargear, 2 items. Digital weapons, and then... Info Slave Skull? Info Slave Skull. So digital weapons, we all know those are.
Yeah.
Same stuff. The Info Slave Skull. Model equipped with the Info Slave Skull adds 1 to its leadership and gains the Acute Senses special rule. For a 10-point upgrade, yeah, I can see it used on things that can take it.
It's not bad, but there's so many other things that are actually rather expensive that unfortunately I feel that you really need that 10 points for other stuff. So some of the other stuff we have, I mean, you have your basic conversion field, which is going to be...
a model replaces your refractor field, so you pretty much everybody's getting a refractor field. Refractor field, if I recall correctly, is a 5+ invulnerable save.
Yeah, but this is only for the squad leaders. It's not like everyone in the unit.
Right, yeah, so people who can upgrade their Wargear, which is basically the sergeants of units.
And I think the conversion field has another special thing that causes... Yeah, it's also a blind check. So if you make a successful conversion field save... within D6 inches, you have to take a blind test, and allies can re-roll it, basically.
Yeah, friendlies can re-roll, but I mean, for the most part, aren't you initiative 3 across the board? You're
initiative 3 across the board with a lot of things, and frankly, if you're that close to an enemy, chances are you need to shoot them dead or you're dead.
Okay, fair enough. That's a good point. That's a fair point.
It's nice if you want to protect your leaders a little bit more, but again, that's points that I feel are better spent elsewhere, is a big thing. The stasis field is actually kind of an interesting one.
15-point upgrade.
Now this one's an interesting one because if you go to ground with this fella, you're getting a 2-up cover save, or sorry, invulnerable save.
Yeah.
So better than a 2-up cover save because ignores cover would ignore that. Now the catch is you're not shooting and you're not attacking.
Okay, so your weapon skill and bliss skill are reduced to 0.
Yeah.
But for 15 points, you can put it on a character who's going to go to ground on an objective and he's not likely to get shot off.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
we're all playing Maelstrom of War around here. I think most of you are playing Maelstrom of War as well. I can see the value of that item. I would love that item in most of my armies.
It's a great item. I really like it. Whether or not it's worth 15 points, you know what? I want to play around with it first.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm not sure where I stand on it. I like the item. I like what it can do.
For 15 points in this book, what that means is 1 less duder.
No,
everybody's about 15 points.
Fair enough. It's just I don't know if there's a place for it in my particular armies yet.
Well, this is one of the many disagreements we're going to have But that's a good thing.
I wouldn't even say this is a disagreement. I just want to play test it first.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, that's my big thing. I want to play test. I want to play around with it and see, if that 15 points really makes
How often do you go to ground in a game? I can say in my last 10 games, somebody's probably can count this, but in my last 10 games, maybe once. It doesn't come up often.
No. And well, a lot of that comes from the fact that if you've gone to ground, you're pretty much saying that unit is useless for a turn.
You've played a few games with the Skitarii, and have you used this book yet?
No, I have not used this book yet. All I've had a chance to use has been the Castellans.
Okay.
Which I used the White Dwarf upgrade,
right.
yeah.
Have you ever had to go to ground with any of these units?
I've gone to ground with some of the Skitarii.
Okay.
But that's
so it has popped up.
It has popped up a couple times, but here's the thing. The stasis field is in Cult Mechanicus, not Skitarii.
Oh, fair point.
Yeah. So that's something to keep in mind.
Fair point.
Yeah. Yeah, and here's the thing: when you look at the stasis field, like sure, if you give that to a character, if you put them into a unit of Skitarii, sure, they're going to get to benefit from it. But if you look at just the Cult Mechanicus book, the Castellans are fearless because they're monstrous creatures. Right. The Data Smiths are fearless. The Cataphrens are toughness 5, so going to ground is like, so you're not going to need it that often.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about all the units coming up, obviously, and then this new mini. What do we call it? It's not a supplement. It's not a codex. What are we calling this? They want to call it a codex. Fine, we'll call it a codex.
I don't even want to call it a mini dex. Like
it's like an appetizer codex. I don't know. It's a very small codex.
It's the Diet Cola of codex.
Diet Cola.
It's 1 calorie, not enough cola.
Not enough.
Not enough calories.
So yeah, thinking about what you just said, we've had some discussions off camera, but most of what we're trying to do is on camera together. Yeah. What he's just said is a valid point. Not much in this book is going to be going to ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe the what's the HQ called?
The Dominus.
The Dominus.
Maybe.
He might go to ground.
Maybe. But you know what? We've spent a lot of time on the stasis field. Let's move into the actual weapons themselves. So starting with the ranged weapons, we have the electrostatic gauntlets. Now these are ones for the, I'm going to butcher this, the Corpus Scari electro piece.
I can't say it. These guys right here.
Yeah, these cool looking guys. Now this one's, it's kind of neat. It's a strength 4, assault 2, twin linked weapon, which it's not too bad. It also grants +1 strength in combat.
Isn't it a really short range weapon? I'm trying to pull it up here.
Yeah, it's essentially it's a pistol.
It's so small, short, yeah.
Yeah, and we'll talk about why that's kind of a big deal in a little bit when we get around to the unit. But you'll find that both Steve and I have some opinions on those particular units there.
There are opinions.
There are opinions. It's kind of a neat weapon. It's kind of a neat pistol, but we'll check out more of it.
Yeah.
Next up is the eradication ray. Now this one's a neat one because you can put this on your Dominus. And basically...
That's the HQ guy.
That's the HQ guy, and this weapon has 2 range bands. So it has your 0 to 12 range band, which is a strength 8 AP1 heavy shot, or you have your 12 to 24 inch range band, which is a strength 6 AP3 heavy 1 blast. And this just coming out of your Dominus is just great in my opinion. I love it.
What's his skill?
Off the top of my head, I don't.
He's gonna be decent.
It's at least 4.
Yeah.
It's at least 4.
So getting a strength 6 AP3 blast.
Yeah. Like to be honest, I've already built up one of the Dominus models. I'm going to be working on painting it this week, and I gave him the eradication rate because it just seems like it's a lot of fun to tinker around with. Next up, the Gamma pistol. Yeah. Now again, it's a pistol.
It's a pistol. It's strength 6 AP2, so 12 inch range because it's a pistol, but it's got armor bane. Which is because why not? Armor is not a problem for the army.
If you can get into range, armor is not an issue.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Well, going up against, I find that this. My initial thoughts are these guys are great at taking out Astra Militarum.
Yeah. I would even say they're great at taking out Space Marines. The amount of AP3 they have kicking around.
Right, if you keep the Space Marines off your lines, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So I kind of love the idea that with
they laugh at vehicles.
They do. Yeah. But I love the idea that, as all pistols, they have the gunslinger rule. I just have this image of this one Data Smith and one Dominus going up with 2 Kim.
I'm going to kill that tank, I'm going to kill that tank.
Yeah. So next up is the heavy arc rifle, and this is basically just a heavier version of the arc rifle that we saw in the Skitarii book. So it's your strength 6, AP5, but it's heavy 2 with haywire. And obviously haywire is the big deal.
36 inch range haywire.
Yes. Yeah, that's actually a really
heavy
big deal these days. Yeah, and they're on a relentless platform.
Yeah, when we get to that troop choice, there is a troop choice that has that weapon.
Yeah.
That is gold.
I really like that one, so we're going to get to that one. The heavy grav cannon. Now this one's an interesting one because I think this is a big example of where the game's going.
Right. Yeah. This conversation has popped up more than once in this office. It's popped up in a lot of forums. Grav. Everything getting grav. What's grav going to be? What's grav going to do?
Yeah, and
just more grav.
And just this whole idea of being able to wound on whatever the armor save is. Because, well, for the record, it's a 30-inch range shot with the graviton special rule. So it's wounding on the armor save. And again, because it's a grav weapon, it's got the AP2. So whatever it's hitting, if you're hitting Terminators, hitting Wraith Knights, all that sort of stuff, chances are you're wounding it, and chances are you're going to do some damage. But it's also a salvo 4.6 weapon.
Which is
That's
not
huge.
bad.
I like it. Well, again, on a relentless platform.
I was just about to say that. What's going to get it in this codex is going to be relentless.
Yeah. So you don't care about that salvo at all in that case.
So 6 shots, 30-inch range, AP2.
Yeah.
It also has the concussive special rule.
I think all grav has that, actually.
Does all grav have?
I'm not familiar enough with grav. I think
I have nothing that's ever had grav yet.
But
so
here's the thing with grav that I find really funny. Chances are what you're firing at with a grav weapon, a lot of the time it's going to be dead.
not the Wraith Knight. Well,
Here's the thing. A lot of the time, what you fire grav at usually doesn't make it through the churn because you're either firing just overwhelming firepower or,
no, it's like I've never fired grav. Does grav does something to armor, doesn't it?
Sorry.
Grav does something to armor, like on a 6 to
on a
hit
roll
or
of a
something?
6, on an armor pin or on an armor roll of a 6, it immobilizes it and suffers a hull point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of I don't want to say it's a poor man's Gauss weapon.
Well, it's almost better because you get the immobilization as
Actually,
well.
yeah, you're right. It's better than Gauss in that regard.
Yeah.
So the only difference being is that Gauss is everywhere and grav is still kind of.
It's still
it's not quite everywhere. So next up we have the macro stubber. Now this is another one of those burst pistols. We saw that in the Scutari book with the infiltrators. They had their little burst pistol things. They're flechette blasters. Only those were strength 2 with shred and no AP and whatnot. Whereas this one is actually a strength 4 AP6 with burst.
So that's 5 shots.
Yeah, five shots. You put
Why
that
not just call it Assault 5?
That's actually a really good.
Why make up a special rule called burst pistol?
Oh, because you know what? It has the pistol special rule, which means it counts as another close combat weapon. But I don't know, because pistol already has its own.
Okay, yeah, sure. I don't know.
I get what you're saying. It feels kind of needless to make that extra.
The reason why I even bring this up is because this book, and this Scutari, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, has a lot of new names for things.
Yeah, definitely.
So you could have just called this just a type pistol with Assault 5 or whatever. Yeah. There's some simplification they could have done. For people like me who are just not remembering all the names that fast. Yeah. But that's all.
I guess the big idea is they wanted to maintain that pistol as
so you get your extra weapon.
So you get the extra attack, Then we have the phosphor weapons, and this is nothing new. We saw the phosphor weapons in the Scutari book. So just as a quick refresher, the smaller ones, the Blaster and the Serpenta, strength 5, AP 4. They have the Luminogen special rule,
which I think is pretty cool.
yeah. And then the heavy phosphor blaster, which is a strength 6, AP 3.
So Luminogen, for those of us who haven't had a chance to play up against Scutari yet.
On a successful wound or a successful armor penetrating, I think even a glance, basically it reduces the cover save by 1 for that churn.
Yeah.
And any unit that's going to assault it can re-roll their charge distance. Any friendly unit, I should say.
A lot of bonuses for Luminogen. I like it.
I really like the Luminogen special rule. It's concise. It's nicely worded. There's none of this ambiguity because it says as soon as they take an unsaved wound or unsaved penetrate. It doesn't mean you can stack it, which is really good.
Yeah.
Because that was my first thought was, can you stack this?
Marker lights?
Yeah. Like, is this essentially the new marker light? And I actually suspect we're going to see marker lights doing something similar to this.
I hope so. Marker lights can use a little bit of tweak.
Yeah. In the new meta, yeah.
So like we discussed this numerous times between the two of us. How the game just feels like it's more about what kind of cover you get and what kind of cover you ignore, and here's just more of that.
Yeah.
Dropping somebody's cover by 1 is pretty big in this game.
Yeah. Well, you combine that with the Omni specs that the Scutaris have, which already drop the cover by 1. From when you're firing at that.
Yeah, exactly.
So you drop the cover by 1, you get a successful wound in there, all of a sudden, anything with an Omni specs is dropping the cover by 2, which is really good. But Moving on. So next up we have the Plasma Culverin. Now this is like the Plasma Caliver from Skitarii, but it's a big, heavy version of it. So it's a Strength 7 AP2 two-shot plasma cannon, essentially.
It's a shorter range, heavy 2 plasma cannon.
Yeah. And I kind of like it. I mean, you're sacrificing a bit of range for that extra bit of punch.
Yeah, you're losing 12 inches for an extra shot.
Now, of course, it does mean that's 2 gets hot rolls you have to make. But
well, I like the fact that you want more. You're getting more shots.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing that is kind of a drawback is the actual losing the 12-inch range. 24-inch range is kind of, you're almost in the danger zone for these guys.
that is true. But again, you look at the platform that carries them, and they're a little bit more durable. You want to get them up there.
Is a Plasma Culverin also in the Skitarii book?
No.
No, it's not. It's a new weapon.
Yeah, this is a new one.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, they have the little brother of the Plasma Caliver, which is the Assault 3 plasma gun, which is really cool. But this is kind of the big beaker one of it. Now we're up to one of the weapons I really like. This is the Torsion Cannon. And this is a 24-inch range, Strength 8, AP1, Heavy 1, Gravitic Contortion.
Gravitic Contortion.
Yes, I like Gravitic Contortion, because what this is, it's almost like a mini D weapon.
Mini D?
If you get a successful wound on it, it doesn't just cause 1 wound. It causes D3 wounds or D3 hull points instead of 1.
Except for it's each time a vehicle, we're talking about vehicles now, each time a vehicle suffers a penetrating hit from this weapon, it loses
none
D3
glance.
hull points. So it has to be a penetrating hit.
But at Strength 8,
I
mean, a lot of the stuff you're going to be firing it at, you're going to be... You have a fairly solid chance of getting the penetrate.
Again, the only downside of this weapon here is its 24-inch range.
I actually kind of feel like this is what some of the Elder D weapons should have been. Only Strength 10 still.
Oh, you're
Strength 10, but give them the Gravitic Contortion.
Yeah.
But
Distort weapons are D weapons because they were called D weapons in the past.
Yeah, but that's
They're just Distort weapons.
That's
not going there.
That's a whole other conversation. So next up we have the Volkite Blaster, and this is one of those
another 24-inch range weapon.
Yeah, and I think this is one of those weapons that's actually making the jump from 30K. The Volkite,
is it?
I think the Volkite weapons, because I've read that quite a bit in the 30K stuff. And again, it has it's a Strength 6 AP5 with Heavy 3, but again, it's on a Relentless platform.
Yeah.
But it has the special rule. Deflagrate. Or Deflagrate.
Deflagrate. Yeah, sure.
Now this one is... Now this one is a interesting one. It's a little bit more complex than some of the other ones we've seen, and basically after all the attacks have been resolved, you look at the number of unsaved wounds caused on the target, and you basically get an additional automatic Strength 6 AP5 hits on the same unit, equal to the number of unsaved wounds.
So. Okay, yeah, I mean, the better you do, the more you can do.
Yeah, so it's kind of like an old school assault cannon, like going back to like the Rogue Trader 2nd edition, 3rd edition, where the more hits you got, you just kept rolling.
Hey, if you rely on spiking your dice, this is the weapon for you.
I got that wonderful D6 that rolls nothing but 5s. It's a neat one. I think it's a little bit more complex than it needs to be.
Sure. This is one of those rules in game that I'm going to forget.
Oh, I'm going to forget it all the time as well. That's why I didn't give him the Volkite Blaster.
Fair enough.
Because I know I'm going to forget it.
That's again, what I feel about overall with this book. A lot of special rules, a lot of special weapons, a lot of new stuff, which is good. New is not bad.
No.
But just a lot of stuff to remember here.
It's going to take a little while to get used to it.
This is not like a new...
It's not like an update to Space Marines or a new Space Marine chapter where a lot of the war gear is the same.
Those of us who... remember playing, I'm trying to think about 12 years ago when Tau came. Was it about 12 years ago?
A little bit more than that. I think it was actually closer to 14 now, I think.
14, okay. So remember opening that book for the first time and you're like, okay, looking up, okay, what does this weapon do? And this is complicated, this is different.
Yeah.
That was, again, this is 14 years ago, that was like, oh, this is a lot of weird stuff I have to learn. This feels worse than that.
Yeah?
Do you feel the same? This feels a little bit more like, this is not new, like...
The only reason
you're not going to open this up and get right into it.
The only reason I have a hard time answering that question is because when I first... That was just after I was getting into the game, so everything was new to me then.
Fair enough.
Whereas now I'm a little bit more familiar with the game. I don't have to worry about how is this different from other weapons because that knowledge is just sort of already in the head, right? So there's a lot there, though. For
the most part, veterans who have not opened up these books, Skitarii, and Cult Mechanicus, and they're going up a play against them. They're going to make, well, what's that do? What's that called? What is that? Like, it's not going to be. It's not fitting into the shoehorn of everything else so far in the game.
Yeah, everything.
Which is not a bad thing.
No, but it really feels like a lot of these weapons are sort of new and fresh, which is kind of cool. Next up, we have the Flamer weapons. So we have the Cognus Flamer, which, I mean, if you remember Cognus from the Scutari book, it grants some special rules in terms of Overwatch or snap shooting and whatnot. In this particular case, because it's a Flamer, the Cognus special rule lets it always hit 3 times on the Overwatch, as opposed to D3.
So to simplify it, it's a heavy Flamer with a Wall of Flame special rule, always 3 hits.
Yeah, which is, it's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I do like that. And then we have the other one, which is the Incendine Combustor. It loses the Cognus special rule.
Yep.
But what it gains, it's basically...
Well, it's actually a regular Flamer.
It's a regular Flamer with Torrent.
Not Torrent.
I'm not going to complain about
Exactly.
Torrent. I like Torrent.
Who doesn't like Torrent?
Torrent is kind of cool.
Just a Flamer with Torrent.
Yeah, it's a Flamer with Torrent. So, last up... sorry, not last up. Next up, we have the melee weapons. And these ones are a little bit more self-explanatory.
We got 2 that are typical.
Yeah, like, so before we go into it, I mean, we have the Data Spike, which we covered in the Scutari book. And
I like that weapon.
Yeah, I like the Data Spike. Oh, I don't like the fact that it reduces your attacks by 1. It took me a little bit to actually catch on to that. And it wasn't until I was paying close attention to Army Builder. Whenever I gave the Data Spike, I'd actually lose a weapon because this thing is unwieldy. Which is really dumb.
Not in this book, it isn't.
Did they get rid of that? Oh, you know what? No, the Prehensile Data Spike is unwieldy. This is something... Okay, so the Data Spike itself is like the Prehensile one, but not unwieldy. Does it still get the... Yeah, it still gets the Initiative 10 attack.
Yep, it's Haywire, Data Spike first rule, yep.
So it has changed a little bit. That's
it's a melee weapon with Haywire.
Yep. That gives you a special attack at Initiative 10. Like, it's a bonus attack.
Who doesn't like Haywire?
Everyone likes Haywire. And then, of course, we have the Power Axe and Power Fists, which... I mean, if you don't know what a Power Axe and a Power Fist do, go play some Space Marines, you'll find out pretty quickly.
Everybody knows what those are, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Some of the other stuff, starting with the Arc Claw, it's basically a Strength +1 AP5 weapon with Haywire. Nothing really to...
Again, another melee weapon with Haywire. I love it.
Yeah, the Admecker can openers is what they are. Like, they're...
If you're going to go up against... Okay, so if you hit your local gaming store and that one guy keeps bringing in 5 knights, buy this book.
Well, the problem is the knights are still going first.
Yeah, but you get so much ranged Haywire, so there's a
enough.
lot of Haywire.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yes, there is a lot of Haywire. Next up, we have the Electro Leech Stave, which is for the Fulgurite Electro Priests. These guys again.
Yeah, just
the melee ones.
beautiful models, but
yeah, and this essentially it has a similar profile to things like the what is that I'm thinking of the staves from other like force staves.
Oh, so +2 strength.
+2 strength, AP4.
AP, yeah.
Concussive. In this case, though, it's specifically two-handed. It also has
which I think we all should be, but that's a whole different discussion.
Well, I mean, a stave in a Space Marine's hand is a little.
I
different,
guess it's a big stick he's bumping you with.
But the big thing about this one is it has the Electro Leech special rule, which is basically on a roll of a 6 to wound, instant death. Which,
yeah, not bad.
yeah, it's nothing to scoff at. I mean, it comes as basic war gear for one of the units, so you know you don't have to pay extra for it. Next up, I mean, we've already talked about the electrostatic gauntlets in the shooting profile,
Yep.
but just as a reminder, it's the +1 strength in the melee when you're actually using it there. The hydraulic claw.
It's a power fist, basically, but it has the iron grasp special rule.
Not quite a power fist.
Oh, it's on AP2.
No, it's not AP2, and it's only
Oh,
strength
it's only strength
+2.
+2.
Yeah, it's not a power fist.
So ignore what I just said. Not even close to a power fist.
Yeah, but it does have the iron grasp, which is basically it's like a mini smash attack. Basically, if you do the iron grasp, you roll to hit as normal, but you resolve the attack at double strength and AP2. So, and that's a single attack. That's why it's like a smash.
Okay.
In that case. So yeah,
Who has access to that weapon?
I believe it's the Cataphren Breachers.
Okay.
The Cataphren Breachers have that one. So.
And we'll go into those guys all later. And
Yeah. And then we have the armor. I mean, you have your basic things. You have your Artificer armor. The Castellan Battle Hide and Breacher Plate and Demi Plates are sort of the armor that the big critters have in this particular one. So the Battle Hide is a 3+. armor save. The breacher plate is also 3+ for the Cadfriends, and then the demi plate is a 4+.
No special rules on those, just special names.
Yeah, very, very simple, very easy. And then the only piece of special war gear, well, there's a couple pieces of special war gear we haven't discussed yet. We have the Mechadendrite harness. There we go, Mechadendrite harness, which is for the Dominus. Basically, it just gives you, it's what has the data spike included with it. That's the first big one right there. Actually, I think that is the big one right there.
A model with the harness can fire all of his ranged weapons in the shooting phase.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool right there.
And it comes with a data spike.
Yep. We have the Scryer Skull. Now this one's only important if you're playing with mysterious objectives. Basically, if you're identifying a mysterious objective,
at the start of each of your turns, you can just pick an objective and identify it.
Thank you. I was kind of trailing off there.
Trying to
keep the pace going. No, that's good. Neat. But
it's all right. How often we play? Yeah, it's a free. It's an item. Right,
you know what though? When you're playing Skitarii Nadmech, mysterious objectives become important because there's objectives linked to it.
Okay.
So I've actually been making a point to use mysterious objectives more often.
I've actually started myself.
Well, there's some good things. I mean, I know there's the sense that sometimes it slows things down or it's extra bookkeeping, but I've had a couple games where that grav wave generator or that scatter field generator has actually saved my bacon. You always get mines.
Trying to hold this thing.
Yeah. And then the last piece of sort of special war gear before we get into the relics is the Voltegeist field. If I can open it up here. It's a 5+ invulnerable save. It also grants a Strength 4 Hammer of Wrath on the turn that you charge. And basically counts as assault grenades.
Yeah.
Nothing special. It's for the Electro priests, rather. Yeah, we'll get into what we think.
When we combine all that together, yeah.
So just quickly, before leading into the next video, just to give a little bit of a teaser, we're gonna briefly talk about the Canticles of the Omnissiah. Now these are kind of cool.
It's a group. I don't even know how to word this in a short form. It's a bunch of special rules that change from turn to turn.
Yeah.
It's a new affecting.
I don't know. It's like the imperative doctrines that the Skitarii have, where every turn you can declare this. You don't have to. You can declare it, and you basically are going to get access to special rules based on the number of units you have in your army with the Canticles special rule.
Yeah.
So they're really cool. It definitely improves the. I don't even know what the word. The usability, the flexibility. That's it.
Flexibility.
The flexibility of the unit. So look forward to that in the Vault video where we're going to go over special rules and the special rules and the relics. Special rules and the relics. So you can check the link below because we're going to have that link there for the Vault videos. Now, if you're not a Vault member, still click the link. You're going to get a 7-day free trial where you're going to be able to check out all our reviews, all our battle reports, painting quick tips. You're going to be able to see more of Steve in my own mug right here. And lots of good content in there. And you get that 7-day free trial. If you don't like it, just part ways and, we won't bug you about it. But if you enjoy it, definitely stick around. We love having you guys. It is you guys that, it is the Vault members that let us do this. So definitely check it out. Happy Wargaming. There we go.